If God is for us, then who is against us? Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and think the man up top. Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and think the man up top. Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and think the man up top. Conspiracy or not, strategize.
Welcome to the Wealth Mindset with J.D. Garnier. Listen, I hope you're having a productive week in your wealth creation journey as always. And my goal is simple. It's not to help you build wealth. It's not to help you accumulate wealth. It's to help you walk in wealth, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. To take the things that God has already given you and use those to create a life of purpose so that wealth is more than just what you acquire. Wealth is who you become. You are the wealth. It's not your real estate. It's not your investments. It's not your business. It's you. And before you have any of those things, you have a unique and specific set of talents, abilities, gifts, ideas, habits, disciplines, and inclinations that form the basis of everything that you do in this world. And once you tap into that, you build wealth in your life. So again, you are the wealth. Listen, first things first, please follow me on all social media platforms under J.D. Garnier or J.D. Garnier Sr. You can also go to my website, www.jdgarnier.com, and please purchase my brand new book, The Art of Diversity Selling, How to Transcend Societal Differences in Business. This book is my personal journey in business and sales, and I know for a fact that it's going to help somebody that is trying to find their way professionally and just don't know where to go. So please purchase my book. You can get it on my website, jdgarnier.com, or you can purchase it directly on Amazon. I look forward to sharing that with you. Now, let's get into it. Now, listen, I know everybody's ready to get to the sexy part of the wealth mindset. The exciting part where I'm talking about buying and selling stocks and real estate ideas and multiple streams of income. The idea where you could travel anywhere you want to travel and buy anything you want to buy. But you know what I realize? Everybody want to enjoy the fruit. But the quality of the fruit is determined by the cultivation of the seed. The quality of the fruits that you enjoy is determined by the cultivation of the seeds that you plant. And so before you can enjoy taking a bite out of that fruit, there's some work that's going to have to be done. Some labor involved, some discipline, some commitment. And so my question is, what seeds are you planting? What efforts are you taking? We all want to enjoy the fruits without the responsibility of the work and the effort. We want to be rich without being wealthy. But rich is the accumulation of resources and money, while wealth is the separation of time and money. Rich is sexy. It's glamorous. It's visual. Rich is going shopping, flying in private jets, driving fancy cars. You can see rich. You can visualize rich. Every image that we see of people with money is somebody enjoying their riches, but we never see the work. If rich is visual, then wealth is manual. I'm not trying to teach you how to be rich. I'm trying to teach you how to be wealthy. You might not even be ready to be rich. I don't think people know how much stress comes with being rich, how much pain and aggravation and responsibility come with being rich. Why you think you hear all these stories of people who wasted millions of dollars, lost family and friends, fell into depression when they got rich? People that won the lottery, athletes, entertainers. They had all the money that anybody could ever need, but they squandered it because they were rich, but they were not wealthy. If you're going to do it right, you need to become wealthy before you become rich. You need to develop the right mindset that prepares you to handle a level of wealth beyond what you currently have. I don't want you to suffer that same fate. How many times did something that rich people do, you decided to do, and you immediately realized that you made a mistake? A car that you shouldn't have bought, a purse you didn't need, a risk you couldn't afford to take. I've done it. I told you rich is sexy. It's exciting. It's impulsive. But wealth is discipline. Wealth is sacrifice. Wealth is slow. It is methodical. It is thinking. It is planning. It is strategy. Wealth is not something that you visualize. It is something that you actualize. It's something that you become, something that you walk in. Are you ready to put in that type of effort? See, we want to be rich so everybody can see it. The media glorifies being rich, the accumulation of money and resources. Social media, mainstream media, they all make us believe that being rich should be the goal. That all the luxury items that represent class and success are what we should be pursuing. That's why we look for shortcuts to get all this stuff. That's why we justify selling drugs and harming our own community. We set up hustles instead of businesses. We buy things we can't afford. We wear things for outside validation. And we use credit to live a life outside of our means. Which brings me to my main topic today. Credit. What's the point of credit? I can't go 5 minutes without seeing an advertisement about somebody offering to fix your credit, using credit, leveraging your credit. But do we even know what credit is? I know it's a score, it's access to capital, but what is credit really? What does it mean? I can learn a lot about you by your credit. See, in the old days when people lived off the land, if a farmer that grew bread or corn or grain needed some wool or another type of material for his family, he would go to the farmer down the road and say, hey, I need some wool for my family. I don't have anything to pay you with, but my harvest is coming in a month. When it's ready, I'll pay you with a basket of bread and corn and grain. And the wool farmer would give him the wool with the understanding that once the farmer's harvest came in, he would get back a basket of breads and corns and grains. They shook hands on that agreement, and the second farmer gave the first farmer the wool. Once the harvest came in, the first farmer brought the second farmer a basket of breads and corns and grains. He stood by his word and built trust. And so they would continue to do that throughout the years. Now, if the first farmer didn't do that, the second farmer would tell everybody in the town that the first farmer was not a man of his word and that he lied and tricked them out of his wool. Once everybody else knew about it, the grain farmer would not be able to be trusted. He received a heap of wool on credit, and he never made the wool farmer whole. So his reputation was destroyed. At the end of the day, your credit is your reputation. It is a numerical determination of your societal reputation. Are you a man or woman of your word? Can you be trusted? Are you credible? Take away everything else tangible that your credit score represents, and essentially, your credit is a numerical calculation of how society views you. Are you a man or woman who does what you say you're going to do? Are you a risk or are you a reward? If you borrow money, do you pay it back as agreed? Do you take on more obligations than you can handle? Do you use credit to buy assets or liabilities? Your credit profile tells me who you are financially. So let's think about this from the eyes of the lender, from the person who is lending you money or providing the credit. If I'm considering lending you money and you have a history of late or missed payments, defaults, repossessions, what does that tell me about how you're going to handle the agreement that we have on the money I lend to you? It tells me that I'm taking a huge risk by lending you money. It tells me that there's a possibility I might not get my money back. So to compensate me for that risk, I have to charge you a higher interest rate. If you want a lower rate, you got to make me feel more certain about how I'm going to get my money back. That's why it takes time to build credit. The same way it takes time to build a reputation. Trust and credibility are earned. And listen, understand, I'm not casting judgment on anybody. All of us have different situations and circumstances in life. We've all made bad financial decisions. You listen to somebody who had terrible credit when I first started out life. At one point, my credit was in the 400s. Nobody ever taught me about finances when I became a man. When I became an adult, I wasn't a man of my word. I wasn't thinking about paying people back. I had no concept of reputation. I made every mistake that you can think of. But when I got serious about my life, I made a decision to prioritize my reputation and become a man of my word. It took years of discipline. It took years to build trust and credibility, to go from a credit score in the 400s to the 800s. The first credit card they ever gave me had a $300 limit. That's all they would trust me with. Now I have access to hundreds of thousands of dollars in credit. But I had to reestablish my reputation as a man of my word. That takes time. And you know the first thing I did to reestablish myself? I started answering the phone. I had people calling my house every day, trying to hunt me down looking for money. I was hiding from everybody. But once I decided that I needed to rebuild my reputation and be a man of my word, I started answering the phone. I didn't have the money to pay, but I wanted them to know my intentions. You know what happened? A dialogue. Once I decided to communicate with the people I owe money to and confront my irresponsibility, they started to be more willing to help me. And so I started communicating with everybody that I owe money to. At the same time, I got an account of everything that I owed and everything that I had. And before I could rebuild my reputation, I had to make whole of the promises that I already made. And so I created a structured plan, listed all the debts I owed from the highest to the lowest. Then I categorized them by the highest interest rate to the lowest. And then I determined the maximum amount that I could pay towards my debts. And I created a schedule to pay off everything that I owed. One by one. See, I know we used to easy fixes, right? Paying somebody to finagle the system, to manipulate the system, to get things taken off without any real work. But I'm not interested in your score. I'm trying to teach you how to build an impeccable reputation. Because if you just fix your score and you don't fix your mindset, you're going to be back in the same position in a few years. Your score is just the end result of your reputation. And so when I started making consistent payments, I started to reestablish myself. And I did three things. I got a credit card. I told you it was a $300 limit. I got a bank account and put $1,000 in it with a local credit union. And I started to make consistent payments month in and month out. Now, the credit card just allowed me to reestablish myself as a consistently paying person. I was not looking to borrow anything. The bank account allowed me to do something called a collateral loan, which essentially means you borrow against the capital that you have in the bank, so that if you don't pay it back, the bank just takes your money. Well, I would take a collateral loan of as much as they would give me, hold the money for a couple of months and pay it off in full. Because what happens is it reports as a loan, regardless of whether or not you have collateral. And so those things started to help establish my reputation and my credit worthiness. And from there, I've spent the past 20 years being a man of my word. And that's what's giving me access to what I have now. That's reputation. That's not me finagling the system and not changing my habits. That's not me trying to give you game on how to make your score shoot up so that you can buy a car that you can't afford. That's discipline. That's mindset. That's walking in wealth. And there are three factors that ultimately determine your credit profile: your credit capacity, your credit diversity, and your credit consistency. Your credit capacity is like your debt to income, or how much credit you have available to you, right? They want to know how much you have available to you compared to how much you are using, right? So if you have $10,000 credit limit and you're using $9,000, you are almost at capacity. In that situation, a lender is going to feel like you are almost maximizing what you have to use. So you don't have any more room left. So you're a liability. But of that 10,000, if you're only using 1,000, now you're only using 10% of your capacity. That shows that you're not dependent upon your credit. That's looked at favorably. Your credit capacity represents over 30% of your credit score. The next thing they look at is your credit diversity. What types of credit do you have? Do you only have credit cards? Do you only have student loans? Do you own a home? Have you financed a car? Do you have other personal loans? Is your credit profile diverse? Have you shown that you are able to handle multiple things at once? Your consistency. Your diversity, your credit diversity. Do you have a diverse profile? That represents a large part of your score. And then the last thing is your credit consistency. Do you pay your debts consistently? See, one late payment is enough to affect your credit score substantially. People want to know that they're going to get their money on time. And so those three things will help you build your profile and help you build your reputation. And if you do that, you're going to change your situation. Wealth mindset. I'll see you next time.
If God is for us, then who is against us? Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and think the man.